Help me reach 9,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. She said it like a weather report, standing at the counter in my old gray hoodie, hair up, one sneaker half-tied. I'm signing up at a new gym this week, Lauren announced, not asking, just placing the brick in the middle of the kitchen table. Different vibe. I need my own space. I rinsed my coffee mug and kept my tone easy. Great. Health is good. Which one? Off Riverside. Big place. Don't worry about the details. She flicked a look at me over the rim of her tumbler. I'll cover it. You don't have to cover anything. We have a budget. She shrugged, grabbed a banana, and swiped her phone. It's just a gym. I'll text you my new schedule. She didn't. That week she started coming home later and talking less. Her smile turned into a polite receipt. Proof of purchase, no warmth. And when I asked once, just once, what the class was called, she gave me the look you give a nosy neighbor. If I'd known where that sentence was headed, I would have checked the weather and brought an umbrella. The first time I noticed the switch was the following Saturday. We were supposed to hit the hardware store and then a cookout at our neighbor Maya's. I'm in the garage, going over a lumber list, when Lauren walks in wearing all black, fresh sneakers, a tiny zip bag like she's flying private. You ready for Maya's by 3? I asked. She pulled a face. I'll be late. New place has a free orientation with a trainer. It's kind of a big deal. Big like I'll miss the burgers big? I leaned against the workbench, watching her tug a jacket zipper that didn't need tugging. Don't start. It's for me. I need my own thing without you hovering. Hovering? Asking what time to be neighbor-friendly is hovering. She rolled her eyes. Don't guilt me. This is growth. Fine. Grow. Put it on the shared calendar so I don't save you a plate like a fool. She checked her watch. I'm late. You told me 3 minutes ago. It changed. I let it go. But that night when she finally came back, late, showered somewhere else, no gym bag on her shoulder, she breezed by, kissed the air near my cheek, and thanked me for understanding. The thank you felt like a receipt again. Paid. No tip. If I'd known where it was headed, I'd have built a fence before anyone asked permission. The next morning, I opened our budget app, split out the discretionary accounts, and sent her one clean text. For anything new, use your personal card. Shared purchases stay on joint. Put fitness on yours. Not a fight, a rule. She sent a thumbs up emoji. Not a word. I told myself it was a season. People fix themselves in phases. She'd swing back. She didn't swing. She drifted. 3 days later, she came home with a plastic key tag and a smile that wasn't for me. She tossed the tag on the counter like evidence in a show. Good day. I asked. Great. The layout is perfect. And the trainers, so professional. She bit into an apple. Finally, people who know what they're doing. So I don't. You don't need to be involved. That's the point. Understood. Reminder, if it changes our schedule, put it on the calendar. Don't micromanage me, she said, already walking away. I stopped following. That was my first real move. I closed my laptop, canceled 2 things we did out of habit. Our Wednesday spin class at the old gym and the Sunday brunch spot we overpaid for out of nostalgia. I wrote a sticky note and left it on the fridge. Wednesday, I'll be at the shop late. Sunday, I'm doing a ride with Nate. If you're around, great. If not, enjoy your space. When you cancel rituals, you learn which ones were yours and which ones were scaffolding for someone else's future. 2 weeks in, I drove Lauren to her new place one morning because her car had a warning light on. I don't babysit engines I didn't break, but I'm not a monster. We pulled into a big box of mirrors and neon. Inside, it smelled like rubber and ambition. She stiffened at the front door. I can walk myself, she said, already unbuckling. Relax. I'm not writing your name on a locker. She shot me a glance that said, I regret inviting you into my day. I parked anyway, walked her to the desk, and met the kid scanning key tags, a girl with a messy bun whose name tag read Jess. First day, Jess asked me. I nodded at Lauren. Apparently, I'm the chauffeur. It's a new thing, Lauren cut in. Orientation with a trainer. Private. No problem, Jess chirped. Which trainer? Lauren's eyes flicked to the board on the wall. I'll find out. Thanks. She hustled toward the turnstiles with a tight smile. I turned to Jess. Busy morning? I asked. Always. New Year hangover. People are still pretending they like cardio. She grinned. You joining? I've got my own setup. Cool. We've got a couple pros on staff now. Jess volunteered in the light tone of someone who likes gossip. She tapped the board. A list of names, photos, specialties. One face stood out, two white teeth, a grin like a sponsored post. Aiden, strength and conditioning. Jess, stop selling. Someone called from behind a tower of towels. She shrugged. Sorry. Keep your wife on that orientation. They're popular. Jess looked past me, at Lauren, already darting down a hallway that didn't seem to go to the floor. I went back to the truck. The plan was simple. Check the tire, get back to the shop. At lunch, I shot Lauren a text. Hope the orientation was good. Dinner around 6? She didn't answer. At 4, she sent a photo of a smoothie with the caption fueled up. No mention of dinner. At 6:30, I made myself a sandwich and ate it standing up. At 8, she came through the door with a too sweet smile. Hey, sorry, lost track of a clock on every wall. She set her bag down. I met a trainer who actually listens. He adjusted my program. It was intense. Name. She rubbed her shoulder. Why does it matter? So I know who to thank if you can't lift a pan tomorrow. She laughed without looking at me. You worry too much. What time tomorrow? Late. They have evening sessions. Put it on the calendar. She didn't. The first slip was small but stupid. Thursday night. She announced after dinner that she was going to swing by the gym because she forgot her bag. I pointed to the chair by the door. Her black bag sat there, zipper gaping, headphones peeking out. She froze a beat, then forced a smile. Oh, then I guess I'll just go for a quick sauna. Your place has a sauna? Yeah, she said, too quick. It's new. Text me when you're done. I replied, and took the bag to the closet. When the door shut, I thought, okay, that wasn't a mistake. That was a test. On Friday, I escalated. I printed a clean calendar and pinned it to the corkboard in the kitchen. I circled Friday's square and wrote in block letters, yours. No overlap. I also logged into the budget and moved the discretionary auto-pay items that used to cover her side hobbies back to her personal card. A grown person can fund their tracks. At noon, I told Nate, my foreman at the shop, that I'd be off the grid Saturday morning. Everything good? He asked, rolling a socket in his palm. It's maintenance, and I'm changing some filters at home. He smirked. The kind of filters you don't buy at a parts store. Exactly. Saturday, she breezed in from a stretching class at 10:30 when we had agreed on 10. You missed the window for the market, I said, grabbing my keys. I'm heading out. What happened to shopping together? She shot back, like she hadn't rewritten our week twice already. Schedules change. I tapped the calendar. Yours was no overlap. I'm respecting it. She stared at the paper like it had cussed at her. Don't be petty. It's not petty. It's policy. She scoffed and went upstairs. 20 minutes later, she came down in jeans and a soft sweater, quiet around the eyes. I was a little sharp, she said, stepping close. I'm just excited. This place, it feels good to do something that's mine. I'm not against you having things that are yours, I answered. Still at the door. I'm against you pretending our time is clay you can keep reshaping without asking. She rested a hand on my arm, a move from old days. I'll put everything on the calendar. All of it. Can we hit the market now? Sure, I said, because I'm human. We had a clean couple of hours. She asked about work. I told her about a customer who wanted us to fix a truck with duct tape and hope. She laughed. That was the first softening. And if you've ever stood in a drought and felt 3 drops, you know how easy it is to think rain is back. By Monday, her everything on the calendar was 3 vague blocks that all said gym. No times. No trainer. Just gym. At lunch, I called Maya, who sees everything on our street and pretends to keep nothing. You too good? She asked. We're doing a new dance. I figured. She told me she might need a reset. That's what people say before they rearrange furniture and relationships. Thanks for the poetry, neighbor. Look, if the new place is making her weird, keep your bearings. People get high on new routines. I'm not chasing a routine. I'm building a backbone. Then bolt it to something solid, she said, and hung up because Maya never lingers after a zinger. That week, I instituted Rule 2. I wasn't waiting up. I left a folded blanket on the couch and moved my alarm clock to the guest room. She came home at various o'clock, saw the blanket, made a face, and on the second night crept into the guest room acting offended. What is this? She demanded in a hard whisper. This is me not getting my sleep hijacked by uneven timing. I answered, not getting up. Bedroom is for people who keep family hours. You want flexible? This is flexible. Punishing me won't help. Consequences aren't punishment. They're instruction. She stood there with that set mouth she uses when she's deciding between yelling and shame. She went back down the hall. She slept on the couch and left early for the gym. I showered and drove to work with the calm that comes from setting one rule and keeping it. That afternoon, I called a guy named Joe. He's an investigator now, used to be a cop, used to date my cousin, and he owes me a favor because I fixed his truck cheap when he was broke. What's the scope? He asked, voice like gravel and deadlines. New gym, trainer, late nights. She's running space as code for something else. You want me to confirm the code? I want facts. Times, places, faces. No theatrics, no cowboy stunts. Copy. 2-week window. You can take 3 days. He whistled. Short rope. I don't need a novel. Send me the name, he said. I don't have it. The board at the gym said Aiden for strength. He laughed. Of course it's Aiden. Every guy in a tight shirt is named Aiden. I'll find him. I paid his retainer on the spot. I didn't tell Lauren anything. I didn't snoop through her phone. I didn't go sit in a car outside a building like a teenager with too much time. I went to work, came home, made my own dinner, and stopped providing commentary on her hours. Wednesday, she tried softening again. She brought home takeout from a place we both like and sat across from me, chin in hand. You look stressed. Is it the shop? She asked. I look like a man getting his brakes checked while someone else is flooring the gas, I replied. She reached across and squeezed my wrist. I can do better. I know I've been focused. The schedule's still weird while I figure it out. Figure it out. You said you'd put names on the calendar. I will, she promised, eyes wide. I talked to my trainer about mornings. He said he can adjust. His name? I asked, holding her gaze. Why does that matter to you? But she smiled when she said it, like we were play fighting. So I can buy him a thank you card. She laughed. You're impossible. I'm consistent. That night, she was warm in our bed for the first time in weeks. It wasn't passion, it was policy. A token. And because I am not made of stone, I took the token and pretended it was currency. That was the second softening. Thursday, Joe texted, 2 meetings. Same car. Not a gym. We'll send package. Then a photo pinged in. Lauren walking into a cheap motel with a guy in a trainer's jacket slung over his shoulder. The timestamp was during her late lunch. When a man who lives on facts sends you a photo, fairy tales fold fast. I didn't explode. I went to the shop, changed the oil in a Chevy with a leak the owner swore wasn't a leak, and made 3 calls. The first was to our bank to remove my name from her personal card as a backup. The second was to a locksmith, future-proofing, not action yet. The third was to Maya. If Lauren asks to crash at your place tonight, tell her you're full up. Maya didn't ask why. Done, she said. Joe sent more photos that evening, time-stamped and labeled, sitting in a diner with the trainer, hand on forearm, then back to the same motel. Another photo of the guy's car, plate clear. He sent me a quick note. Trainer is indeed Aiden. Employed at Riverside. Schedule aligns with her visits. Want me to keep going? No, I texted back. You've done enough. Bill me. At 8:10, my phone buzzed. Lauren, last session, heading home soon, don't worry. A cute checkmark, like we were high schoolers and she'd just studied for a test. I looked at the photos on my screen, the motel sign reflecting in a puddle like a cheap mirror, and typed my reply. Interesting training program, at a motel. 3 dots. Then nothing. Then everything at once. She called. I let it ring out. She called again. Voicemail. Again. Again. The text stacked. What is that supposed to mean? Where are you? Why are you being weird? Are you okay? Answer me. I put my phone face down, took a slow breath, and gathered her essentials into one medium suitcase. Not all her stuff, not a bonfire of clothes in the yard. That's theater. Basics. Enough for a stay somewhere else. I set the suitcase by the door, sat at the kitchen table, and waited for the keys in the lock. They came 20 minutes later. The door opened. She stepped in, hair damp, face flushed, eyes scanning the room like there might be strangers hiding behind the couch. She saw the suitcase. She flushed again. What is this? She snapped, the pitch already in the red. I stood and pointed to the suitcase. I packed your basics. For what? For your next session, I said, dry as a desert. Don't do bits, she fired back. I had a final training block. I texted you. You're making it weird. I texted you too. She blinked. That line about a motel? What is wrong with you? Nothing wrong with me. But my eyes work. I pulled my phone, tapped open Joe's photos, and laid the screen on the table. Your form looks different outside the gym. She stared and didn't blink. Rage, fear, and calculation started a fistfight behind her eyes. This is slander, she said finally, pointing at the screen without touching it. You're fabricating something because your imagination needs a hobby. I hired a professional. He doesn't make art. You hired someone to follow me? She barked out a laugh that wasn't a laugh. That's sick. You need help. You needed transparency. You chose theater. So I left the audience and moved backstage. She folded her arms. Delete that. You have no right. I have the right to know what my time is being traded for. She leaned over the table. Apologize. Right now? You're accusing me of. I didn't accuse you of anything, I said, cutting across her with a calm I didn't have to force. I said the word motel, and you started a parade. Pack the rest of your things. You've got an hour. Take the suitcase. Go to your trainer. Build your space there. Tears arrived on cue. She shook her head, reached for my hand, missed it, tried again. Don't do this. I got carried away. It's not what it looks like. I can fix it. I'll stop seeing him. I'll cancel the gym. I'll do mornings at home. We can reset. You had a dozen chances to reset, I said. You used every one to move the line and call it growth. I don't give second chances on this category. It's not a typo. It's a different book. You're cruel. I'm clear. You're going to throw away everything over a misunderstanding? Misunderstanding has a different address. It doesn't meet at a motel. She tried again, softer. Please, don't push me out. I'll do. An hour, I repeated, standing and taking my keys from the hook. I'll be back in 90. If you're here, I'll call a friend to help you pack faster. If you're gone, text me an address to deliver the rest. She glared, then deflated, then squared up. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is how long I let you test my boundaries in our house. I opened the door. Clock's running. I drove aimlessly for 20 minutes, let the air and the silence do their job, then parked at the overlook where teenagers take badly lit photos of sunsets. I answered Nate's text, "You good?" with a simple throttle sticking, fixing it. He sent a thumbs up. When I came back an hour and a half later, the suitcase was gone, the closet doors were open, and the house was quiet in a way I hadn't heard in months. On the counter, a handwritten note rested under the salt shaker like it might blow away. You're making a mistake. I'll be back to talk when you're sane. I flipped the note over and wrote a single line. Don't. The next morning, I made calls on her territory. Gym first. I asked for a manager and got a guy named Ray who wore a polo one size too big. The mark of a man who didn't want to look like he belonged to the weights. Sir, what's the issue? He asked over the front desk's cheap speaker. I have documentation of one of your trainers conducting sessions off-site in a way that violates any basic code. I kept my volume low. I wasn't here to perform. I want to handle this professionally. I'm not sure I follow. I'll send you times, dates, photos, and the plate to match. You can decide what your liability comfort is. He cleared his throat. We take complaints seriously. I hope so. I emailed the package Joe sent me with the names redacted except for the trainers. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Ray again. He didn't sound calm. Is there any chance this is a misunderstanding? He asked. Chance is not part of the file I sent you. We'll address it immediately. Good, I said. And no one from your gym is to contact my number or show up at my home to clarify. If your HR needs a statement, it happens over email. We understand. I hung up. I wasn't celebrating. I was logging. At noon, Maya knocked. Heard movement over here, she said, stepping inside without ceremony. You okay? I'm not bleeding. She came by early, Maya reported. Wanted to use my guest room. I told her no. She didn't like that. Good. She also told me you hired a stalker. I told her she's mixing up words. I hired a mirror, I said. Maya sat, scanned the living room like a detective, and pointed at the guest room door. You sleeping okay? Better already. You need anything? A decent breakfast. I've been eating like a raccoon. She laughed. I'll drop something by. That afternoon, I moved the rest of Lauren's clothes into labeled bins, set them in the garage, and emailed her the pickup times I'd be home at this week. I canceled 2 joint subscriptions and paused her access to the shop's insurance card that she barely used but loved to say was a benefit of being a team. At 5:30, a number I didn't know called me. I let it go. It called again. I answered. Is this Marcus? A new voice, measured, clipped. Who's asking? This is Ray from Riverside. I wanted to inform you that the trainer you mentioned is no longer on our schedule pending review. I can't say more than that. You said enough. Also, for your awareness, he asked for your contact info to clear something up. We did not provide it. Good policy, I said, and hung up. 10 minutes later, a different number texted. We should talk man to man. That was all. No name. I blocked it. Lauren showed up just before 7. Eyes hidden under big sunglasses like we were on a red carpet for people who can't read rooms. She didn't come inside. She stood on the porch and waited for me to open the door. I did, and stayed in the doorway. I'm here for my things, she announced. They're in labeled bins in the garage. Everything else can be arranged later. Email me times. No surprise visits. You're not going to talk to me? We're not doing the lobby scene after a bad play. She flinched. I shouldn't have. Stop, I cut in. We're not rewriting. You've got bins with your name and a window of time. She swallowed. I'll need help. You have 2 good hands and a solid grip. You've been training. She stared a full count, then walked to the garage with a stiff back and lifted the first bin without asking for my arm. I watched from the door, not to gloat, just to make sure she didn't rifle drawers or try a last-minute stunt. She didn't. She loaded her car, shut the trunk, and turned once, hopeful in a way I recognized from the early years. We built a life, she said. You're going to throw it away for pride? No, I answered. I'm ending it because it stopped being a life we built and became a place you hid. Pride is when you tell people they can't look at what you're doing. Respect is when you can. I made a mistake. You built a system. She inhaled to argue. I didn't let her. We're done. She pressed her lips together, nodded like she was bookmarking a page for a later argument that wasn't coming, and left. I didn't watch her go. I shut the door, washed my hands for no symbolic reason, and sat at the kitchen table, staring at a calendar with a lot of empty squares I could finally fill on my terms. Over the next few days, I did clean work. The locksmith came. I returned her spare key via Maya, so there was a witness. I moved my paycheck deposit from the joint to my personal. I sent Lauren an email with a spreadsheet. What bills I would continue for 30 days, what stopped immediately, what required her signature. No threats, just math. She asked for a meeting to discuss options. I replied with one sentence, put it in writing. From the shop, I made one more foreign territory move. Saturday morning, while the lifts were up and the radio was low, I walked into the owner's office 2 doors down. The building we share with a property management outfit where Lauren did seasonal work once for extra cash. The manager there, a woman named Teresa who runs on calendars and consequences, looked up at me and raised a brow. You look like a man who's about to remove a splinter, she said. I'm reviewing vendor access connected to my business, fobs, logins, codes. My household just changed. I'm locking the door on the past. Need a witness? She asked, pushing aside a stack of folders. Just a signature. I updated authorized names. Take hers off. Teresa read the paper, nodded once, and signed. Done. For what it's worth, I saw her leaving that gym once with a guy who thinks the sun is a mirror. It tracked. I needed the facts without the flavor, I said. Then you got them, she replied, and I left. Ray called again Monday to let me know the trainer had been released. Polite word. He didn't say fired, because that starts conversations. He said released, which ends them. As for consequences beyond that, I didn't care to invent them. Adult life has gravity. People step off cliffs. Gravity does its job. Lauren texted middle-length paragraphs for 3 days. How she'd been unhappy and neglected and overwhelmed. Words that point in all directions at once. I didn't answer paragraphs. I answered logistics. She asked if I'd meet at a diner to talk like adults. I replied, email only. She tried calling 10 times in an hour one night. I set my phone on Do Not Disturb and watched a game in silence. The kind I used to love when silence was a friend, not a verdict. A week later, Maya invited me to a backyard potluck, our street's way of taking attendance after storms. I went. I made ribs. People smiled, the sympathetic smile you give when you don't know whether to bring up a landmine. Lauren wasn't there. Word had already done its jog around the block. At some point, two neighbors drifted over and started fishing for the story. I gave them nothing but the line I use with myself. Things change when respect leaves, I said, turning a rack of meat. When that happens, change the things. Nate clapped my shoulder lightly. Solid, he said. You need a ride any night to keep your head clear, call me. I've got a full tank, I replied. Back at the house, I opened the last of Lauren's emails. She wanted one last chance to sit together and reconnect, a word that belongs in electric manuals, not marriages. My reply was 6 words, pick up the rest by Friday. She did. No kiss on the air this time. No smile. Just bins, silence, and a door closing like a norm returning. By the time the first month turned, my house looked bigger. The guest room was mine again. I hung a shelf I'd been putting off because small projects felt like itches I couldn't reach. I set a black coffee maker on the counter that brews fast and hot and never asks me how I feel. I bought an old-school road bike from a guy who'd been holding it hostage in his garage and started riding with Nate on Sundays for real, not as a thread on a sticky note. And then life did the thing it does when you stop standing in the way. I took on a fleet contract at the shop that made our balance sheet smile for the first time in a year. I slept like a man who doesn't have to memorize 2 schedules to avoid getting ambushed. I got invited to a friend's lake place with a small group that thinks phones are for maps, not alibis. Up there, I met someone named Erin who talks like a person with a working steering wheel. She asked me once what I do for fun, and when I said, maintenance, she laughed and didn't run. We grabbed burgers with her sisters and spent an hour arguing about the best way to fix a leaky sink. It was the most exciting hour I've had not involving a power tool. As for Lauren, I hear through 3 people and a weather app. She's renting a room on the far side of town and carpooling because her ride developed all the problems I warned her it would if she ignored it. The trainer with the big teeth? He isn't at Riverside anymore. Last I heard, he's posting videos from a smaller gym that pays in exposure and protein powder. Maybe that's his path. Not my business. Gravity will do what gravity does. Maya asked me last week if I had any last words for the chapter. I do, I said, flipping a burger. I told her not to come back. Cold, Maya teased. Clear, I corrected. Sometimes people mistake kindness for a door you'll never lock. I locked mine. I handed over a suitcase in an hour because I'm not a monster. I sent a file to a manager because adults handle problems in daylight, not in whispers. And I left with my dignity and my name spelled right in my own house. The day I took my bike on the river trail and kept going past the old turn, I stopped on a bridge and looked down at the slow water. No metaphors, no big speeches, just a clean span, a route I hadn't used because I was always checking someone else's clock. I texted Nate, going long. He replied, copy. Here's at 5. Aaron sent a smile. And the calendar on my wall had one box circled in a heavy hand that was finally my own, mine.